Sadio Mane illustrates one of the strangest stories and declines that we've seen in the 22-23 season. You rewind the clock to less than 1 year ago, and, funnily enough, both Sadio Mane and João Cancelo would be included amongst the best players the Premier League had to offer. You wake up today, and you're met with Man City fans that literally haven't even thought about Cancelo since he left. And Bayern Munich fans concerned over who's gonna show up to training with a busted lip next. The latter of those two scenarios is probably worth looking into more. To be honest, both situations have their complications. Cancelo is on loan and doing well. Tommy T seems to rate him really highly, but there is the matter of that €70 million price tag. As things stand, he's heading back to City, which I'm not sure is a conclusion that both parties will be happy with. Sadio Mane, on the other hand, is not only a fully fledged Bayern Munich player, but he's also the club's top earner and is contracted until 2025. It's not the best situation to be in if you're Bayern Munich, and with the season coming to an end, you'd imagine some major decisions need to be made. What's going on? Yo, what's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Sadio Mane is one of the standout players the Premier League has seen over the past 7 years or so. At his peak, which lasted for quite some time, he could pretty much have walked into most of the teams in the league and made them better. That's not really an outlandish opinion to have, in my eyes. The situation is strange not just because of the drop-off, but also because of what we knew about Sadio Mane before he went to Germany. Born in Senegal in '92, Sadio Mane impressed in his home country before moving to France with Metz in 2011. But it of course was not easy for him at all. As per his own admission, his father and some of his elders weren't too keen on him pursuing football when he was younger. He even speaks of getting into arguments with his uncle after his father had passed over how harvesting crops took time away from his training, which is ironic considering the league that he plays in. It got to a point where he even had to run away from his hometown of Bambali to Dakar in hopes of achieving his life ambitions. That was when he was 16. Luckily, not long after that, his family realized that they had no choice but to support him. There lies a large part of his motivation to succeed, providing and giving back to his family through hard work and discipline. He spent only 1 year at Metz before it became clear that he didn't belong there. The French club cashed out at €4 million, and Mane was then off to Austria with Red Bull Salzburg. Playing in this division proved to be the perfect springboard for what would come next. As a winger or inside forward, he showed his worth over the 3 seasons he was there, scoring 45 goals in 87 appearances and winning a league and cup double in 2014. It was after that he would be involved in probably his second biggest scandal in his football career, forcing his way out of a club. Maybe the most heinous act that a footballer can commit. I joke, but it's obviously not the best situation to put your club in, and in this specific situation, Sadio Mane skipped out on training and then skipped out on a very important Champions League qualifying match, all while being a very important squad member. In the end, he got his wish, and it was Premier League side Southampton that signed him for £11.8 million. And with the Saints, it was more of the same. RIP, by the way. This time, it only took 2 years for the big move to come through. And I remember around the time, there was quite a lot of chatter around whether this would be a good deal or not. The man cost £35 million, making him the most expensive African player of all time. And even though he didn't look out of place at all when he joined the Premier League, he was moving from Southampton to Liverpool. A new look Liverpool that had just been taken over by Jurgen Klopp too. I mean, the guy does hold the record for the fastest hat-trick in Premier League history, 176 seconds against Aston Villa in 2015, but it would take some convincing to make people believe that he was amongst those best suited to take Liverpool back to the top. Turns out he was. At the end of the day, Sadio Mane will go down as a Liverpool legend, a consistent performer, barely injured, always playing with a smile on his face, and he just seemed to get better and better as time went by. He played across the front line alongside Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah, forming one of the deadliest attacking trios in Premier League history. In 2017-18, the trio combined for 133 goals and assists. They never won anything that year, but in the years to come, they won everything. and Mane was undoubtedly one of the main guys. In early 2022, he even won the African Cup of Nations, scoring the winning penalty and being named as the player of the tournament in the process. On the flip side, Mohamed Salah wasn't having the best of times. Even as rival fans, it was pretty much impossible to dislike this guy, especially when headlines about him building schools and hospitals dominated pretty much every not-footballing related mention of him in any article you read. More goodwill PR in the form of endorsing non-profits dedicated to helping vulnerable children and spending hundreds of thousands of pounds of his own money on philanthropy have fully established him as a good guy. Fast forward to the summer of 2022, and it didn't seem like there were too many hard feelings when it was his time to go. He'd been a loyal servant to the club, he was 30 years old, and Liverpool were getting a pretty decent fee for the guy from Bayern Munich, 27 mil. He'd left his mark on the club, and it was time to go. And Bayern Munich were getting what was marketed as the finished product, an experienced, versatile forward that knew how to score, create, and carry. Of course, you can't replace this kind of player, but with the departure of Robert Lewandowski, Bayern were heavily in need of what Sadio Mane could potentially provide. Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, and Kingsley Coman are all great players, but you can count on them to be inconsistent. Bad news though. It seems like in Germany, you can count on Mane to do the same. His time in Germany hasn't worked out the way many thought it would. In 25 appearances in the league for Bayern, he scored just 7 goals thus far. Oftentimes he tries things on the pitch that just don't come off. He holds onto the ball for far too long, and when things don't work out for him, which they often haven't done this season, he just has this frustration on his face that I've personally never seen before. And it's even more unfortunate that the guy's bad form has coincided with Bayern Munich's worst season in what seems like ages. Knocked out of every competition and very inconsistent in the league. As things currently stand, the max number of points that they can finish the season with is 71. The last time they finished with less than that was 2011. They came second that year. There are likely several reasons that explain Sadio Mane's decline this season. I mean, the cheap answer is that he's moved to a new league, and that in this new league, for the specific team that he plays for, there are pressures that he's not entirely accustomed to. In the words of Oliver Kahn in early April, he's still in search of himself a little. He's a player that needs a lot of encouragement. He's not used to the type of competition for places we have here. It wasn't like that at Liverpool, which is probably a fair assessment. At Liverpool, he was pretty much first choice in perpetuity in his position. I don't think there were any major concerns from his part that he would lose his starting spot. Of course, that was because he was performing, and that was the reason why. Then there's Julian Nagelsmann. Reports of several players not being too fond of his approach were rife early in the season. Mane was one of them. Nagelsmann's confusing tactics and his tendency to not tell players why they've been benched was understandably a problem. Then we have the injury he suffered in November, a hit to his right fibula that forced him to miss 3 months of football, including the World Cup. And as if things couldn't have gone any worse for him, he's only gone and smacked Leroy Sané after being eliminated by Manchester City in the Champions League. An off-field disagreement is said to have caused the tension. Regardless of what the reasons were and who started it, Sané is the one that showed up to training with a busted lip afterwards. Also, it's probably worth noting that Sané apparently advocated for Mane's punishments to not be too severe, so perhaps rumors of bad blood are a lot more sensational than we think. In any case, Mane was suspended and fined as his punishment for this crazy behavior. It's also uncharacteristic behavior. I mean, there's gotta be an explanation for lashing out like that, especially for a guy that's not known to act like that at all. There have been a lot of rumors about what Sané said or what's going on in Mane's personal life, but I don't really feel any need to mention any of them because at the end of the day, the majority of them are just that. Rumors. And speaking of rumors, him being on his way out of Bayern Munich has become a regular part of the news cycle, and it will likely remain that way throughout the off-season. It only makes sense, I guess. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If rumors of how angry Oliver Kahn and the rest of the Bayern Munich higher-ups are true, then perhaps we could see something happen. But at the same time, for me, it's kind of hard to see anything happening. It's really early in his contract, and I don't see very many other teams paying, about 400,000 euros per week for a underperforming 31-year-old that can apparently lose his temper when things don't go his way. It's a strange situation. The story is developing, but as things stand, it's not looking good. And there we have it. Let me know how you guys feel about Sadio Mane and this entire situation. Feel free to follow all the socials. All the links are in the description below. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.